When your wife of 10 years looks you in the eye and says, "I want a divorce," something deep inside you shifts, whether you're ready or not. Except, in my case, I was ready. I just didn't expect it to come in that exact moment. The words hit like a sudden storm, but the truth behind them had been lingering for much longer. I had been living in silence for years before she finally spoke those words aloud. Maybe she thought I'd fight for us, beg her to reconsider, or demand to know why. But all I did was take a slow breath, meet her gaze, and say, okay. Because the part of me that would have pleaded was already gone. I had let go long before she did. That day had been like most of the others. I was exhausted, running on fumes after covering for a colleague on vacation. The days blurred together. Early mornings, long hours, endless meetings. I barely had the strength to make it home, let alone keep a sinking marriage afloat. I remember pulling into the driveway, my body heavy with weariness, thinking only of shedding my damp shirt, stepping into a hot shower, and collapsing into bed. I grabbed some takeout on the way, a burger and fries, and didn't even text Sophia to ask if she wanted anything. I didn't have to. I already knew the answer. For months, dinner had been a quiet, separate affair. If it happened at all, she stopped cooking. I stopped asking. Conversations, when they occurred, felt like transactions between two co-workers forced to share a cubicle. The house had long stopped feeling like home. And when I stepped through the door that evening, Sophia appeared from the living room with a seriousness that stopped me in my tracks. "We need to talk," she said. No man wants to hear those words from his wife. And after weeks of barely making eye contact, of muttered fine responses to my attempt at small talk, now she wanted to talk. Still wearing my shoes, tied loose around my neck, I asked, "Can I shower first? It's been a long day." But she shook her head. "No, this can't wait." So I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door, turned to face her fully and braced myself. And that's when she said it. "I think we need a divorce." For a moment, I just stood there, stunned. Not because I hadn't seen this coming, but because of how calm she was while tearing down a decade of our lives. She explained herself, her voice steady. She spoke of how lifeless our marriage felt, how we lacked intimacy, how we drifted apart. She painted a picture of two strangers sharing a roof, of a slow mutual slide into indifference. But that wasn't the whole truth, and we both knew it. What she called a lack of intimacy had been her weapon. Every time I pushed back against one of her impulsive spending sprees, every time I tried to steer us toward responsibility, she withdrew, silent treatments, turned backs in bed, cold shoulders that lasted for weeks. My careful explanations about tight finances were met with contempt. She didn't want careful, she wanted indulgence. And when I couldn't give her that, she made me pay for it in small, cutting ways. So when she handed me the divorce papers, already filled out, ready for my signature, I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I just looked at her and realized how much she'd become a stranger to me. Or maybe I had simply stopped recognizing her a long time ago. I took the papers, walked to the bedroom, and finally allowed myself the shower I'd wanted since stepping through the door. The hot water hit my back, and as steam filled the room, I let my thoughts drift. I thought of everything I'd ignored, how our conversations had shrunk to nothing, how laughter had left our home. I remembered suggesting therapy, only to be met with scorn. "You think I want to sit in a room and talk about our problems like some pathetic housewife?" She'd mocked. The way she dismissed my efforts to save us cut deeper than any argument ever could. Standing in that shower, I expected heartbreak. What I felt instead was relief. Her words hadn't shattered me. They'd freed me. For the first time in years, I wasn't clinging to something that didn't want to be saved. I could stop pretending. By the time I stepped out, the weight on my chest had lifted. I dried off, dressed, and went to bed without a word. There was nothing left to say. The next morning, I made coffee like always. But instead of plotting how to fix things, I thought about how to move on. When I told her I wanted a few days for my lawyer to review the papers, she just nodded. And almost immediately, her behavior shifted. The late nights, the sudden girls' nights out where she dressed like she was 20 again. The signs were all there. I didn't need evidence. I didn't need to know the details. I just watched the final cracks widen. My lawyer made sure the process was clean. No house to fight over, no kids, no joint savings left. She'd already emptied that months ago. There was no revenge in me, only a quiet desire to be done. When I didn't fight for her, didn't beg, she seemed confused. Asterisk, you're not even going to fight for us? Asterisk, she asked one night. I met her eyes and said, asterisk, there's nothing to fight for if you've already decided you're done. Asterisk, and that was the truth. I had spent so long trying to patch up what was broken that I didn't realize I had already been grieving the loss of our marriage while still living inside it. Before the final signatures, I'd already found a new place. I moved quietly, one box at a time, and the day the papers were finalized, I was gone. No drama, no messy ending, just peace. What surprised me most was how easy it was to legally separate from someone who once meant everything to me. But emotionally, I let go long before the ink dried. For the first time, I could sit in my own space without walking on eggshells, without trying to please someone who'd already made me the villain. That kind of peace is golden after so many years of tension. Months later, I ran into her best friend at a grocery store. The one I thought never liked me much. She surprised me. She looked at me with real kindness and said softly, asterisk, I'm sorry things ended the way they did. You didn't deserve that. You were always good to her. Some of us saw it. She just didn't realize how lucky she was. Asterisk, her words hit me harder than I expected. And when she offered to help me with my new place, I politely declined. I wasn't ready for blurred lines or complications. That small exchange made me wonder how much of Sophia's coldness came from within and how much was shaped by the voices around her. Voices like that friend's. 6 months after the divorce, Sophia messaged me out of the blue. Asterisk, do you ever feel like maybe we rush things? Asterisk, I felt no anger, just a quiet stillness. When we met at a cafe, she confessed everything about the friend who once urged her to leave me, the same friend she now saw clearly. The cracks were obvious now. The controlling husband, the lies, the comparisons that had poisoned our marriage. She told me she finally realized I'd been the one trying, holding us together. And then came the question I half expected. Asterisk, do you think we could try again? Asterisk, I looked at her, and I saw a woman I once loved. But I also saw a chapter that was closed. No, I said gently. Asterisk, I don't want to go back. Asterisk, because now I knew what peace felt like, and I wasn't willing to trade it. She said all the things I used to long to hear. Asterisk, I miss you. I didn't know how good I had it. I made a mistake. Asterisk, but now, those words are just echoes in an empty room. I wish her well, truly. But I'd found myself again, and I wasn't letting go of that.